All right, I want to run through a scenario. Everyone's got their ways of thinking about this stuff, but I'll tell you mine. So you got your main shaft that comes out of your gearbox. Your clutch pack would be on here. You'd have a chain coming off to the front of the motor. This is what hangs out of the gearbox into your primary area. Now, what I've got to go through with one hand is, this is off a bike. That goes into the gearbox. I've got to double check, 4th gear. This all sits on here. It's a bearing that slides all the way back, and all that recesses into the gearbox housing. This has your pulley on it for your belt drive system. And then obviously, like I said, further on, we've got our clutch. Now, you've got to think with this being in here, even though this has got some needle roller bearings in here, it takes a partial, or it takes a part of the load. But when you've got something out so far and it's pulling, there has to be a leverage point of premature wear. If it was dialed in at 0 with, bugger all pressure in that area, it would run true, so to speak. This bearing, obviously when that comes forward, that can allow, not that that's right, that's just sitting there, but that is going to allow a strain or a premature wear area. So this is going to flog out marginally. The 2 bearings that are inside here that run on that main shaft, they have a load to them. So when your primary chain tensioner ratchets up and it's tight as buggery, this here being a leverage area with a controlled support, if we had something on the end or whatever, it'd be somewhat indifferent. However, it's not. This strains because the chain's so tight, it has to side load somehow. Don't think when a chain goes tight, this is so supportive with this much leverage coming out with a fucking actual weight, a counterweight on the end being the clutch. It's gonna try and do something of moving forward. So when you've got your chain coming around and off the crank and back and it's nipping up, this stress loads and the crank stress loads back off a leverage point, which the leverage point on these is a bearing. That is a failure point. That is something that is a serviceable unit. It's not a fixture, it's a bearing. It has to move and it will create strain or a premature wear over time due to that fact. So now with this bike, I'm putting a new main shaft in for a 6-speed. We've ordered a brand new gear, obviously where our pulley adapts. New bearings, because yet again, when they side load, they're going to premature wear. Everything's got to be dialed in and set correctly, and obviously a new bearing as well, and whatever else we're doing. But please understand that when your primary chain's tight, say I'm the chain here, I've got to move, it's tight. It has to do something. It's got to load bearing to somewhere. Just keep that in mind with your bike. I get it with automatic tensioners. It saves people going in and fucking around with a manual tensioner. But the thing is, when it ratchets up really, really tight, because when you give it a gutful and the chain whips on diesel or whatever and it ratchets up, it's got nowhere to go. That bloody tensioner will sit here with spring low going, oh, there's a bit of slack. How's that coming back? It can't. It's got serrated teeth here where it sits itself and it'll be positioned. Whip, see you later, boom. Every time it does that, this here, crank coming up, it's